Today is September 2nd, 2015. This interview with Stuart Eppinga of Grand Rapids, Michigan is being conducted by Deb Moore of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Well, thanks for talking to me today, Stu.
Sure.
Let's start out a little bit. Tell me about where and when you were born and a little bit about your family.
Interestingly, as I mentioned, my dad and mother immigrated. They fell in love in the Netherlands, and my mother did not want to move to the United States, and so they compromised, and she agreed to come until my dad had made his fortune, quote unquote. And my dad learned the carpentry trade, and he went to Detroit, and he did very well and became a builder. And I have an older brother who was 8 years old, and then when it was time for me to be born, my mother's mother, my grandmother, came here to help take care of me. And unfortunately, my mother died while I was born.
Ah.
I was under 3 pounds.
Oh.
And they ran a running account of my health and welfare in the paper. I mean, that was unusual in those days. You know, my dad said I could fit in a cigar box.
Wow.
And
that's little.
it's touch and go. And so after my mother was buried, my grandmother says, well, I guess we'll have to move back to the Netherlands now. My dad said, no, that was an agreement I had with my wife. She's no longer here, and I want to stay here. So he advertised for a Dutch-speaking nurse.
Uh-huh.
And I guess you can guess the rest of the story. She was wonderful and saved my life. And they fell in love and got married.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So it was you and your brother who's 8 years older.
Right.
And his name is?
Jacob.
Was Jacob born in the Netherlands?
No, he was born here too.
Both here in Detroit?
Yeah, he ended up 30 plus years as a pastor at LaGrave Christian Reformed Church.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, your dad was a carpenter. There was the two of you. Did they have any children together?
Just Jake and myself when I came along.
Okay.
There were a few miscarriages in there.
Uh-huh.
And, unexpected and tragic for my dad. But,
yeah.
that's the way.
But she was a good mom to you.
My stepmother.
Yes.
Yeah, I never knew my mother.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So I see you were born on June the 17th, 1925.
Correct.
Okay. And so you grew up in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And where'd you go to school?
I went to a Christian school for the first 8 grades, and then I went to Southeastern High School.
Okay.
By the way, I'm going to brag a little bit here.
Good.
This guy Carson is running to be president.
Yes.
He is from Detroit Public School
Is he?
system.
Ben Carson.
Ben Carson.
Okay.
And I ended up, I didn't like school,
Uh-huh.
but I ended up teaching in the school that I didn't like.
Really?
In high school.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you graduate?
Yes, I did.
What year?
I graduated from high school in '43.
Okay. Then did you get enlisted or?
Well, then I was drafted.
You were drafted. Okay.
And when I came back, I went to Wayne and trying to find myself, but I knew all of my friends ended up in Grand Rapids, Calvin College, and my wife was in Detroit, my wife-to-be, Elaine. So that didn't appeal to me. Being away from home for 3.5 years, I didn't want to leave home that easily, and so that's sort of how it happened.
And did you use the GI Bill to pay for your education?
Partly. I also got a vocal scholarship from Wayne. I was a singer.
Oh, okay. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go back now. You are drafted into the Army, and
Navy.
you had to go sign up or
Navy.
register. Oh, the Navy. So you had to register.
Yeah, and I ended up at the Fort Street train lobby, depot lobby. And I'll never forget, I had to get a physical. And then finally, I got into a line where you were assigned a branch of the service.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in that line and listening and watching the process and the guy that was doing it. And he was a bad guy. If somebody would say Air Force, he'd get you in something else. And so when I got there, I figured, okay, buddy. I said, it's your call. He said Navy, so
And you were happy with that?
I was happy with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any preconceived thoughts about why you wanted to be in the Navy rather than?
Well, I was always in or out or under the water. I love the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's partly my paying for it now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just liked the idea.
Of the Navy.
And so it wasn't long, and I was in Camp Peary, Virginia.
Okay, that was where basic training was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trained by a Marine, and Marines hated the Navy guys.
Oh, great.
And here we are, we get off this train, and I'll never forget that, must have been 400 or 500 guys climbing off of that train from everywhere, in all kinds of garb. I remember one guy came from Wyoming, he was a sheep herder, and, it's, you're wet behind the ears, 18 years old,
Yeah.
And
So they sorted you out,
yeah.
and how did you handle basic training?
I enjoyed basic training. I liked physical things. I was always active outside. I loved playing ball at home, and got pretty good at playing ball.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoyed the challenges, of the marches and the discipline and getting up early. I still get up early.
Mm-hmm.
And so and
You didn't have any trouble with any of that?
didn't have any trouble, but I had a guy on in the bunk ahead on top of me, and they placed you alphabetically. And anyway, he had just gotten married. He was my age, young guy from the South, and the guy he sobbed all night long,
Aw.
cried all night long. That didn't help me,
No.
but he was smart. He got out.
Did he?
Yeah,
Did he? They said they
Yeah.
just let him go, huh?
they got him out of there.
Oh boy. But you think he was sincere?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. How about any other guys wash out?
There was a guy named Ginsberg, a Jewish fella. He was smart too. He developed a sore back, and he got out.
Okay. Okay. So did they give you any testing or something at the end of basic training?
They tested you physically with rifle fire and subjected you to a gas chamber. I remember it was a Quonset hut, and they wanted to expose you to different kinds of gases,
Oh.
and so that you know what you were involved in if you ever were in a situation where that was being used. And the one test, you went in there, and the guy that was running the testing was off in a room there with a mic. You could hear him, and he said, "Okay, you got your gas mask on. when I tell you, I'm going to be putting mustard gas in here," and he says, "I want you to pull your gas mask off, and as soon as everybody's got their mask off, we'll open the doors on either end, and you can get outside."
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the guy right ahead of me, he froze, he couldn't take it off. And so here we are, all those guys there, tears running down our cheeks and gasping for breath. And here, I looked around, and here's this guy. So I yanked it off of him, and then finally we got out. I remember that very distinctly.
Was it really mustard gas?
Yes.
Wow. That was, I don't think they do that today.
No.
Wow.
And then, like I said, it was, crawling on your stomach, and then they shoot machine guns over your head, and night marches, and I mean, they really threw it at you. Well, they wanted you in good physical shape, and when I look back, I think I understood it, and it was the best physical shape I was ever in my life.
How tall were you?
5'9.5",
And you weighed?
probably 140.
Okay. Okay. And was that live ammunition they were shooting over your head?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I just can't believe that no accidents ever happened.
No. Well, they did happen once in a while. Again, guys would panic and get up and run and bang.
And they'd be dead in basic
Yeah,
training.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't fool around. That was crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd they send you after basic training?
After basic training, they gave me a 10-day leave.
Okay.
I got back to Detroit. Then I went to Norfolk,
Mm-hmm.
and we had no idea where we were going, and we ended up of all places, Bermuda. They had given us machete training,
Really?
and so we expected to go to the Pacific, you know.
Yeah.
And because Germans didn't use machetes, the Japanese did. But we ended up going to Bermuda,
Uh-huh.
and we were assigned to a naval base there. The United States had leased land there
Okay.
for 99 years, and they
Mhm.
set up a Navy base.
Mm-hmm.
And my part of that was being part of the maintenance of that base, of that naval base. They had PBY-3 seaplanes
Okay.
that went patrolled, and I got in on a few of those flights,
Mm-hmm.
even though it wasn't my assignment, and that was really enjoyable in a way because you could see all the convoys going over. So
Yeah.
they're going to Africa or Europe, and you know how we appreciate geese, the formations when we see them in the sky. Same thing with these ships, destroyers,
Mm-hmm.
destroyer escorts, the troop ship in the center being watched, you know, by all these other ships and
Yeah.
guarded. That was fun to watch. Plus, Bermuda had beautiful coral,
Oh
and
yeah.
we could see the rocks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't in on the action that particular day. We looked for enemy aircraft and subs too.
Okay.
And the only sub that's at Chicago Museum Science and Industry
Yep.
that's captured, I was there when that happened there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, and
Uh-huh.
then another thing that happened there that a lot of people don't know is we had 6 Italian submarines
Mm-hmm.
come in to port.
Really?
And they were surrendering. And they started out the war torpedoing our ships.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up looking for German ships. They didn't know what side of the war they were on. And I got to talk to some of these guys a little bit and got to know them.
Uh-huh.
And they said it was all propaganda. He says, when we were back in Italy and you know the war was beginning, we only knew what we heard Mussolini talking about or what was in the papers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but that was an interesting part.
So
of
they
it.
were disillusioned and they turned themselves in as prisoners of war?
That's right.
Uh-huh. And then where did you have a place for them
We
in
had-
Bermuda?
We did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we
Uh-huh.
housed them.
How many did you have there?
And by the way, those submarines were World War I vintage.
Uh-huh.
Awful tin
Yeah.
cans.
Ah.
But I don't really know the total. I think that each submarine might have had 30 aboard.
Okay.
And so, like I said, but they were happy-go-lucky guys. We got along with them, and they got along with us.
You learned a little Italian and
Yeah, right.
they learned a little English?
Yeah.
Okay. So so when you're in your time in Bermuda, what did you specifically do?
Well, I floated around. For some time I ran a boiler. I run a boiler
Uh-huh.
where we would take intake water from the Atlantic
Mm-hmm.
and convert it into fresh water.
Oh, okay.
I also was attached to a welfare and recreation department, which I really liked. It was an easy job. fun job because I like sports.
Right.
And so I was in charge of running a sports program and basketball and baseball and pool hall and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was not bad.
Yeah.
But I was not happy there. I was stupid, young and stupid, and I wanted to go where the action was. And I put in to become a SEAL, and I never heard.
Okay.
And thankfully now,
Right.
but,
Not looking back.
yeah, but I was fortunate to be there.
Yeah. And so, how long were you stationed in Bermuda?
18 months.
Okay. Okay, but and you think you could have stayed there, except that you asked for a change of orders?
No, I had at that time you could ask for a transfer at 18 months, which I did, and so next thing I know I'm in Davisville, Rhode Island,
Okay.
and the next thing I know I'm back to Norfolk. I'm going to Norfolk, and I'm on a ship, and I'm going through the canal, and I end up in Guam by way of Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in Bermuda, I lived in a barracks, and in Guam, I lived in a tent.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty primitive, and there were still Japanese running around there who didn't know the war was coming to an end or was over.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually there when the war ended.
Okay, and Guam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there, I was in charge of a platoon of Japanese soldiers who we would give work orders to, and we'd have to guard them while they did whatever project they were assigned.
Mm-hmm.
And primitive, you know, the showers, outdoor showers, salt water,
Yeah.
the whole bit.
Yeah.
So then,
Well, tell me, what kind of jobs might you have the Japanese prisoners do?
they would do mostly, you have shovels, and would be in the field shoveling and removing rock from areas, and it was.
Was that a made-up job, or does that need to be done?
Made-up job.
It didn't need to be done?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Just some hard physical labor for
Yeah,
them?
but you didn't want to turn your back on them.
Yeah?
They were vicious.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think they would have come after you?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So it was really something to get them to do?
Just keep them occupied.
Keep them busy, okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because they believed that, you know, they should have died for their reward.
Or die trying.
Yeah.
And so what about the food there on Guam?
Food was never that great.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere. Bermuda wasn't that great. I don't know if you ever heard of SOS.
No.
Okay.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
I got a lot of that.
Okay.
No, it was never that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't starve.
But you didn't gain any weight.
No.
So what else did your day consist of in Guam?
That was pretty much it, because then the war had ended, and I had accumulated enough points or numbers to be eligible for discharge.
Okay.
And they wanted me to go to Japan.
Uh-huh.
And Enterprise 1, which was an aircraft carrier,
Uh-huh.
came by, and they transported me.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of going to Japan, I wanted to go USA, which I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as I said, I've been a singer all my life, and I went to a meeting. Actually, it was a Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
And afterward, one of the officers says, you know, are you a singer? I said, yeah. I have done a lot of quartet and church and school choirs and
Mm-hmm.
male chorus. But he says, we want to form a quartet.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested? I said, sure. So myself and a black guy. At that time, all the black guys were cooks.
Okay.
And two other guys became a quartet, and that's all we did was sing. And every night we would put on a program. We, the ship's department, and we would be part of that program on the fantail of the deck of the Enterprise One, where the planes come and land and take off. Beautiful moon, and we sang.
That's great.
And they wanted me to stay. And just do that. I said, man, I want to go home. So we went to the fastest way home by way of the Panama Canal took 35 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Because you had to go back to Norfolk?
Back to Norfolk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the way to Norfolk, I just might throw this in. We got on the train at Davisville, Rhode Island to go to Norfolk. It was about a 5 or 6 car train, and we're all going Norfolk, getting ready to ship out. And it was dinner hour. Well, I was in the last car, and like I said, I wasn't used to top of the line food, but they had a great meal. So I was in the 6th car, so we were called first.
Nice.
So we went up there and had this fantastic dinner.
Great.
So I went back to the 5th car, and I had another dinner. I did that 6 times.
Oh my.
I
You had a lot of room in there.
I had a lot of extracurricular experiences going back. When I first came from Bermuda, I landed up in New York
Okay.
in Pier 92, and they lost my papers.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't know who the heck I was.
Yeah.
So every morning I'd take off. They say, here, take the day.
So you'd go sightseeing?
Oh, I was sightseeing. I ended up being a tour guide. These
Really?
guys come, off of Liberty. I'd show. I've been to the the Statue of Liberty a zillion times, but I also was there when, and they gave passes to the servicemen very readily, and nice. It was a wonderful thing. So I was there when Toscanini was directing the NBC Symphony Orchestra. I was there when Victor Borger showed up. I was there when Sonia Heine was a skater. This is before your time.
No, I know who she is.
Yeah, and I went to Radio City Hall, Dick Liebert and the Rockettes, and went all over the place. And I just might throw this in. When my wife and I got married in 1947, we went to New York on our honeymoon. And so I'm the I'm the tour guide.
Right.
We ended up at the Statue of Liberty. And the guy that's shining shoes, in Navy, you had to have shiny shoes. Your shoes had to be
Right.
spiffy. That son of a gun remembered me. Of all the thousands of the guys that he had seen during the war, he had remembered me.
From New York.
From when I was there being a tour guide.
That's crazy.
Oh, what a funny story that is.
Yeah.
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 So anyway.
That's something.
Yeah.
And so you got to see a lot of New York.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, usually if I'd see some guy today yet, if he's all tattooed up, I said, you got that in Honolulu, didn't you? He says, how'd you know? I says, I've been there, but I didn't get tattooed. But those guys, that was a ritual.
Okay.
And they regret it now, but Honolulu, and we were getting ready to ship out of there, and I was a friend of mine who was in the Navy that was there, and I knew he was there, and I didn't know where the heck he was, but I somehow or other got him on the phone, and I said, yeah, I'm here, and I said, I'm quarantined, I can't leave. He said, where are you? So about 10 minutes later, I hear an ambulance siren, and it's this friend of mine from Detroit. He drives right in there, drives right up to the barrier, says, hop in. And we go to the gate, and he revs up his siren, and away we go sightseeing.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And how did you know that fella?
I knew him as a friend of mine from Detroit.
From Detroit.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So what was the most dangerous situation you were in?
Probably in Guam, no doubt. You had to always be aware of where you were, because they were Japanese were still around in the jungle areas there and the shrubs, and you never knew if they'd take a pot shot at you. And they had these outdoor showers covered with vines. Weren't very not a very private place, and you never knew, you know. And they've had a few of those incidences while I was there, where the Japanese were taking shots at, you know,
Right.
at
Obviously, you had guards around the whole perimeter.
yeah,
But still, they could.
were still there.
They would. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was the most dangerous. The other thing, when we went to Bermuda, it was a little scary when the ship did this.
That zigzagging.
Yeah. But other than that, Lord was good to me. I didn't, you know, I did some foolish things. I did some swimming in shark-infested waters.
Oh.
And, you know, some of that stuff I brought onto myself.
Right.
But as far as dodging bullets, I never had it on the ship or off. You know, other than the incidences I explained to you. But Guam was the most dangerous. Yeah.
So how long were you at Guam altogether?
Probably 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
And when you said you were doing the quartet on the end of the ship, would you have different audiences all the time?
Well, usually be the same guys.
Oh, okay.
Just different music.
Uh-huh.
And I had the ability to harmonize.
Uh-huh.
Always could do that.
Uh-huh.
And they never, you know, it's what they needed, somebody that could harmonize.
Why they wanted you to stay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Now, so you got quite a bit of liberty in New York. Did you get to do any sightseeing in other places?
A little bit of Virginia area, you know, Richmond, Virginia. When we were in Davisville, Rhode Island, a contingent of Dutch Marines arrived on our base. And I navigated over there because I talk Dutch. And they had about 3 barracks full of these Dutch Marines who were there to train. And these poor guys had all been in the underground during the war in the Netherlands, and they were going to go to the Indies.
Oh, boy.
And so I went in there and I met a guy and that I hit it off with. And I took him to Whitensville, Massachusetts, which is a little city there that's full of Dutch people.
Okay.
And we got off the bus, and they had never seen a Dutch Marine before, and everybody talking Dutch to him. We didn't know there were many Dutch people in the United States. So then then they were ready to ship out, and they gave him a weekend liberty, but they took all their money away from him. So here is this guy, doesn't have a dime. He's got this long weekend. And I had just come back from Detroit, and I didn't have any money because I had spent everything I had, pretty much. And I says, look, you've got to see New York. And I says, trust me. If you trust me, we're going to hitchhike. He didn't know what hitchhike meant. First car came along was about a third-generation Dutchman in a beautiful Cadillac. And they had never seen a Dutch Marine before.
Right.
So we got to New York and went to the USO. They had never seen a Dutch Marine. And I told them, well, here we are. I told them the circumstances. We don't have any money. He says, don't you worry. And they gave us tickets to everything. And they put us up.
Wow.
And they gave us transportation money to get back to Rhode Island.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. And this guy, his English was very poor. And I had to sort of use my hands a lot.
Right.
And with my Dutch. And but as a result, became friends with them. We still correspond.
That's great.
Christmas time.
That's great.
We went over there to visit him.
Did you?
And he came over to visit us in Detroit. We were there 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah.
That's something. Were there any USO shows that you saw?
They would come by.
Uh-huh.
And they usually end up, you know, the Andrews sisters were there.
Okay.
Uh, trying to think of some of the others. We never got Bob Hope,
Okay.
but yeah, I got a lot of them come through.
Okay.
Some of them, and they had outdoor theaters,
Mm-hmm.
which was a nice diversion.
Okay.
And so they tried to make you,
I mean, I know you saw movies
yeah.
and played cards and stuff.
I didn't play cards. Other guys did. I was always swimming or snorkeling or
Uh-huh.
doing something else.
Mm-hmm. So when you were in Bermuda, you could snorkel and see the coral?
Oh yeah, I spent a
Oh.
lot of time there
Wow.
in the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So you sounds like you really made the most of your time.
Yeah, I was always outside, physical. Enjoyed the outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't know that the sun was bad for me.
Right, right. Well, yeah, they didn't hand out sunscreen then.
Didn't know what it was. I guess I don't know.
You're supposed to have your little Navy hat on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, anything else we can talk about here? Did you write a lot of letters?
Yeah. My wife and I corresponded,
Uh-huh.
stayed in touch, and my parents.
Okay.
But other than that, not much.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And since you were pretty stable, you received your mail regularly?
Yes, but infrequently. Took a while.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like it is today. It took
Yeah.
a lot longer.
Yeah, yeah. And what about your superiors? Were they pretty straight shooters or?
The Navy, you know, I got to see all the branches of the service pretty
Yeah.
much.
Uh-huh.
And the Navy was worst when it came to class standing.
Oh.
The officers were, you know, a little bit high and mighty and a little bit
Full of,
haughty.
okay, full of
and
themselves?
Status
Oh.
conscious.
I see.
In the Army, it was not that way. The Air Force was the best.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, the Air Force, being a newer branch of the service, had the best facilities
Did they?
of what I could see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the Marines was not. Marines were the guys they threw in the battle first. I was
Mhm.
glad I didn't get in the Marines. I've had a lot of friends and relatives that died as Marines in the service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was your brother in the service?
Brother didn't go in. He partly he was a seminary student
Oh, okay.
and he got deferred.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you look back at your whole military experience, Stu, do you think it was a good thing in your life?
Very good thing because
Uh-huh.
didn't know what end was up. You know, I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do or not do.
Mm-hmm.
I was very good discipline, and I ended up, as I mentioned, in Southeastern High School
Mm-hmm.
as a teacher, and I taught music 20 years, and I was a counselor for the last 13, and was able to encourage a lot of boys and girls to get in the service. They had no future in Detroit. I could see that, and they could too. They were in ghettos,
Mm-hmm.
and I had so many come back and thank me for steering them in that direction.
Yeah.
And then while we were living in California, my wife and I have been very blessed. We've traveled all over the world, you
Mhm.
know, and so it came time to decide what we're gonna do now. Well, I said, let's go to Bermuda. Let's check out Bermuda.
Uh-huh.
And so I picked up the phone and I got a hold of the Navy there. I said, sure, we'll take care of you.
Uh-huh.
And so I booked a plane, got it right into Bermuda, Hamilton, the capital.
Okay.
And they put us up in the officers' quarters, and it was very, very cheap,
Uh-huh.
inexpensive. And we were in this bay, and across the street was a great, a very well-known hotel chain, very expensive.
Uh-huh.
And we were seeing the same thing they were seeing, only we were on this base. And my wife enjoyed it. She felt she'd be a little out of place, but at that time, there were just as many women in the service
Yeah.
as guys.
So you're talking about the 70s or the 80s?
We're talking late 70s.
Late 70s
Yeah.
when you went back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, that was great.
Yeah.
So it helped you to mature, you think, or
Oh, definitely.
um,
I believe right now that we should have a draft for all 18-year-olds. At least 1 year of service. These kids, like I said, I come from Detroit. You name it, I've seen it. And no discipline. Don't know who their father is. It'd be perfect for our society to have exposed those kids to that kind of living. And I'm for, very much for. You don't hear about it anymore. And
there was
at
some
one
talk
time,
for a while.
There was some talk. I think it would be so good for these kids, and because I know what it did for me, and so.
Well, like you say, it would give them some structure at a time in their life when they're just kind of like you were, just kind of unsure about
Yeah.
what you wanted to do.
Yeah, but they had an environment that was different than mine.
Yeah,
I had a
right.
wonderful home and family,
Right,
friends.
right,
Yeah.
right. So you didn't have any lasting trauma from being in the service?
Other than skin cancer.
Skin cancer. Being in all those hot spots with
Yeah.
out in the sun.
Yeah, and I was always in my shorts and no shirt and
Yeah.
no hat. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
great. Okay, well, anything else we should talk about during your?
No, I'm
You're-
just answering your questions.
Okay, I just don't know if I'm missing something that I don't know about.
No, there's so many things that have gone on and I experienced. I still correspond with a close friend that I first met in Bermuda. He ended up in California as a teacher at UCLA, and he was from Skokie, Illinois, and I went and visited with him and met his parents, and then he moved out there. But that's unusual to keep up like that. He's the same age. I'm 90 and he's 90.
So you didn't have any reunions of your group or anything like that?
No,
No.
no.
And you never joined the
Veterans,
VFW or the
No.
American Legion or anything like that?
once I got out, I was out.
So then you got married the next year,
47, yeah.
1947. How many children did you have?
4,
Okay.
yeah.
And you said one's in California now,
Yeah.
one's in Holland, Michigan.
And one in Alto and one deceased.
Okay.
Lived 3 months.
Oh, okay.
That was hard.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, well, great. Well, thanks for speaking with me today, Stu, and
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.